All right, so we'll dive right in, get into the first question. What inspired you to write Again to Your Next Level?
There are so many things that inspired me to write this book. I basically, Getting to Your Next Level, like many other books, came out of a sermon that I did. And so I'll do a sermon, and after presenting that sermon, I listened to what I said. Over the years, I had this habit of recording and listening back to what I presented. And then a lot of times it's like, wow, I think this is a book in the making. And I have experienced getting to my next level in so many ways, in so many dimensions, and I've seen so many people getting to their next level that it was a very overwhelming desire to present this book.
Beautiful. Can you speak a little bit about the journey that led you to discover the principles and a little bit of the outline of the book?
It's been a long journey. I'd like to say very early that for those persons that will ever read this book, part of my intention is to encourage you to write, is to encourage you yourself to be an author. And there might be somebody listening today that you started the journey of writing, you have a manuscript, and that manuscript is packed away somewhere several years ago. But when you read my journey, you would realize that it was a very long journey getting here. Where I started, I stopped. I started as a widower because my first marriage ended with the death of my first wife. I started as a widower. Then I talk about the entire stuff in the book where, then I put down writing for a while. I got married. Then I picked it up again and I put it down, and it was like that. And you are in this book. You are in this book. And I think the fact that it was a very long journey, it gave a lot of opportunity for a lot of beautiful success stories where I talk about my experiences as being quote unquote lonely and learn how to deal with loneliness. And then I talk about some of the heights of my life. One of the good things that I like to talk about this book is the fact that it was such an overwhelming dream. I actually made a little mark print out of the front page, put it in one of the cabinet in my house, and I will constantly point it and say, you're going to turn it into a book one day. I like to point out, however, also that being in Guyana at that time, it was like almost an impossibility to be able to have this book published. Talking about the cost, do it and all of that, but where there is a vision, there's provision. And so it has been a long journey, but here we are. Thank God.
So would you say that particular moment that sparked this idea for the book would be that sermon?
Yes, that sermon. And that idea was sparked before you were born.
Okay. So how would you say your personal experiences helped shape this message that you wanted to convey?
Totally, because it's about getting to your next level. It's about how you can encounter a person, you can encounter an organization, you can encounter some information that will literally propel you to the next level. And so I always like to mention this couple, the Randolph's family. They're in Texas. And so I was visiting the United States from Guyana. Had all this thought about writing, and I generally don't like to start writing on pieces of paper. I prefer to start writing on the computer. So I would have had probably a desktop computer, but I find when I am out of my comfort zone, I'm able to flow more with my writing. And so I wanted to have a portable computer, which again, I'm talking over 2 decades now, and then a portable computer at $1,500 coming from the Guyanese standpoint, we're talking like over 300,000 Guyana dollars. However, here I was traveling, stopping with this couple for a program, and they're both authors. And they started to talk to me about writing and how they wrote and what was important and essential. And they asked me the question of, why aren't you writing? And I said, when I can afford, I'll buy me a laptop computer and I am going to start writing or whatever. And the next day they picked me up from the hotel I was stopping and they presented me with a computer. And they say, here is a tool. And after all the information we gathered from the few days I was with them, they said, go ahead and start your journey of writing. And that same night, I actually wrote the first couple of pages in the book. It was so overwhelming. It was just waiting, and that information, knowledge, the power, just everything just give birth one time. And I just began writing.
Wow. So now, tying to that, what would you say would be the central message or theme to get into your next level?
The central message or theme in this book is that we need to remove prejudice from our mind. And we need to see ourselves as learners. I'm a learner. I learn every day. Every day is a learning day. And you can learn from a child. You can learn from an experience, from a situation. You can learn from literally anything. You can observe an animal, an insect, a bird doing something and get an entire lesson, get an entire book out of it. And so I'm saying remove prejudice from your mind because, like in my case, the people who gave me the energy, the tools, and everything that it took to write were not a part of my organization that I was associated with at the time. And so some people have prejudice against people because of their organization, because of their association, because of all kinds of things. And in this book, I brought out the fact that God used unsafe kings to take people to their next level, like in the case of Esther, Nehemiah, Ezra, Daniel, and all those people. Joseph had a dream. Joseph was a God-fearing person in Egypt, and Pharaoh, who was probably not quote-unquote a God-fearing person, was able to take Joseph to his next level. A donkey talked to somebody and take them to their next level. It's like amazing that God used an animal to talk. Why are you doing this? The burning bush, the bird feeding. So just remove prejudice from your mind. Be open to what God is doing. And God can literally use anyone, any circumstance, any information, any situation to propel you to where you ought to go.